We've been talking about cognitive development through different perspectives as children move through stages, and now we're going to do the same thing on the topic of moral development. Lawrence Kohlberg was also very much into stage theory, and he looked at how young people develop their moral reasoning, their moral thinking, as they progress through different stages. He based everything initially on Piaget's cognitive stages, that at some stages children can only think of certain things in certain ways, and in the next stage they can think differently. And so he ran some experiments to see how children explained their ideas, their feelings about moral dilemmas. How in the world do you solve a moral dilemma where there is not any particular clean solution to a problem? Somebody might end up having to compromise their sense of right and wrong. How do children explain working through a problem like that? That was how Kohlberg worked. And once again, like I've said before, and I will say again, be careful when you start talking about the word morals and how it can be very different from the concept of ethics. And we'll look more at that even a little bit later in this video. For Kohlberg, there was a level 1. Level 1 had 2 stages. This is the pre-conventional level. It's based on rules and rewards and punishments, kind of the way little children are treated, and therefore that's the way they think, and that's about the limit of their cognitive abilities. So in stage 1 of pre-conventional level, children will explain why things have to be a certain way. They'll say, you have to be good because then you get good things. Good things happen to you because you've been good. That's their level of cognitive development mixed in with how they think in terms of morality. A little bit older, and they start saying, well, you should be good because it's the rule. You talk to 4, 6, 7-year-olds, and rules are a big, big deal. You have to follow the rule. You break the rule, you're a bad person. So this is pre-conventional thinking about moral issues. For Kohlberg, level 2 is the conventional way. Now when he has the word conventional there, he's talking about conventional because this is the way many, maybe most people in the world think about moral issues. But it starts at a fairly young age. It's based on this expectation that the world works pretty smoothly when there's reciprocity and when there's a certain amount of conformity. We all get along pretty well that way. So stage 3 is good behavior pleases other people, so it's best to conform. And you'll see an 8-year-old thinking that way. You may very easily see a 38-year-old thinking that way. Stage 4. We have this idea of a social contract. Society is held together by the fact that we all put aside our self-interest every once in a while to get along and make society work. And sometimes we have to give up something we would like in order to keep things running smoothly in the world. And again, you will see an 8 or a 10-year-old thinking this way and explaining morals in this way. You could very easily see a 40 or 50-year-old talking in this same sort of way. This is conventional morality. Kohlberg came up with a level 3. he interviewed some people who had what he considered post-conventional ways of explaining how to work with these moral dilemmas, based on individual rights in the sense of equality or equity. So stage 5 is the realization that the standards we hold to keep society running smoothly and all these moral issues, really there's a certain relativity to them. There's no absolutes. And we just work through the relative pros and cons of a situation and not rely on particular specific rules. And you will obviously find older, maybe some teenagers thinking this way, all the way into adulthood. Not necessarily very many. Stage 6, his final stage of post-conventional thinking about morality, is a person who exhibits a sense of the universality, that there needs to be universal justice, fairness, equity. And here you can kind of see that this is really crossing over into ethics as opposed to conventional morality thinking. So this is how he set it up, and basically he said most people are at the conventional level for their entire lives once they reach that stage, and some people, a few people in the world, and some of them are role models to us, reach these stages 5 and 6. Well, all well and good, but there has been some controversy about Kohlberg, and in particular, Carol Gilligan started looking at the question, does moral thinking happen the same for males and females? And her conclusion was that females tended to have more of a sense of moral compassion rather than moral reasoning, which meant that for her, stages of moral development depended more on gender differences. She asserted that females tend to develop their sense of morality more about how they are thinking and feeling about compassion toward others as opposed to grinding out mental concepts. So for her, especially looking at women, she was saying, okay, let's look at stages, but here are the stages in a female's life when it comes to working with moral issues. Level 1, especially with children, self-serving. I want things my way, and I will manipulate things to get things to be my way. It's not much fun to find a 20 or 30-year-old still operating at that level. Level 2, women who, especially if they have started a family, will reach a level of self-sacrifice. Don't mind me, go ahead, run all over me. It's all right, because it's all for your good. The self-sacrificing mother image. Not meant to be a joke here, but there is actually, for Gilligan, really a sense of this is a person who's reached a certain stage where they put aside their own self-interest completely. And she then went on to say, at level 3, the woman has reached a point where she finds the balance between self-sacrifice constantly and taking care of herself, taking care of her needs, her interest, and finding a proper balance in terms of morality. So, this is moral development. How much you buy into it, in one case Kohlberg, on the other side Gilligan, I'll let you decide for yourself. But there do seem to be stages, and there seem to be stages that some people get stuck at and some people rise above and reach higher stages. So that's the end of this video, and I encourage you to rewatch it. I encourage you to work on review questions and, of course, supplemental readings that can fill you in a little bit more about all of this. Good luck.